Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome, and thank you so much for joining us here on this truly magnificent Monday's edition of Talk Today. We get a chance to continue our partnership with DCFS. And this discussion, actually stay tuned as we talk about elderly and financial abuse. So please, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow,
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255 as we invite you to call and share your thoughts. I'm honored to continue on this regular partnership with our friends over at the Department of Children and Family Services. The Director, Ms. Felicia Robinson, joins us. Good afternoon, ma'am. Always a pleasure. You guys do a phenomenal job, and we really appreciate not just this partnership with Talk Today and Radio Cayman, in particular in the month of October, but throughout the year. You make yourselves available to us. We have things that we can inform and include our general public. So, good afternoon to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
And from Cayman National, a wonderful company, Ms. Jewel Hides. If we were sitting in a different setting, I said Jewel would have more qualifications, letters after her name than alphabet. Incredibly intelligent young lady. So, Ms. Jewel, always a pleasure, ma'am.
Always a pleasure to be here, Dwayne.
Inside, if you got Jewel, you just need to be here to be company.
And that's what I've done.
Your 3 decades in banking, put that aside, don't worry, man. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. I'm pleased to be here, too.
I was looking at the discussion. I was grateful in particular to Ms. Cassandra, Ms. Cassandra over at DCFS. We were planning the schedule for the month and we were talking about things. And the idea that we would include, not just the levels of abuse and the activities and the need to engage and involve and make sure our elderly feel included and respected and valued, but the fact that sometimes, even inadvertently, not just the deliberate actions of us as their loved ones, we may be abusing, defrauding them with their finances, or, as you guide me, the elderly who may have, up until that point, been very independent and everywhere, doing everything, going everywhere, balancing their checkbooks and ordering their own tickets online and traveling the world, and because of age or infirmity, they can't anymore. Maybe because of some of the ailment or illness, they're not sure exactly what's happening at that point in time. There's a level of frustration that we make sure that they still feel that, hey, it's okay, we got you back. But even when we don't and we're being deliberate, so at the very least we be conscious of it. Ms. Felicia, from that perspective, help us as a public to understand what we talk about when we speak of, not just the vulnerability, but what is elder financial abuse?
Okay. When we speak about elder financial abuse, we are referring to any illegal or unauthorized use of that person's, perhaps their property, their money, their pension, or just getting manipulating yourself into the situation to get access to their assets. And that vulnerability for the older person arises in several contexts. We know that as people get older, there is the possibility that their mental capacity will be diminished. For example, they may have some sort of dementia or something like that, and therefore their decision-making process may be a little bit compromised. They also have their physical capacity is also diminishing. So before they may have been able to get up and take themselves out to the bank or, set up their appointments and transact their business. As they get a little bit more fragile, they're not able to do that, and they may seek to rely upon other persons. Other persons may also choose to intervene because they recognize that that older person is vulnerable, they're lonely, they lack social support. And sometimes we presume that all of our older persons have children who can take care of them, or a close family member. So we may think, well, why can't their children do it for them? They may be no child, they may be childless, and not having fostered a relationship with someone who is an alternative person to care for them in their old age. That also creates a context of vulnerability. I think another area is, besides having that lack of support from family members, life happens, relationships break down, and some people, as they get older, find themselves surrounded by less and less caring persons in their community or even in their family because of whatever issues happen. And then we also have the fact that there are just some persons out there who will engineer themselves to be aligned with that older person as their caregiver or their caretaker or their best friend or their substitute son or daughter, because they recognize that that older person has something and they want to be in line to benefit from it at some point. So the fraud happens in that context, and those are just some of the examples that creates the conditions for fraud to arise. I'm sure my colleagues will speak to the issue of the vulnerability in terms of even the banking policies, which sometimes presume that everybody knows how to use technology, and you may set targets that you want everybody to be using the ATM machines and so on, but not all of our older persons can negotiate that sort of technology. And again, they may rely upon someone to help them and open doors for fraud.
Well, sorry, Ms. Jewell, share with us.
Right. Dwayne, good afternoon again. As CNB employees, we are very pleased to be part of this important senior month. We have participated now for a couple of years in this regard. This afternoon we will be looking at what is elder abuse, who is defrauding the elders, some types of elder abuse, and of course how to protect yourself as an elder. So, elder abuse is defined as follows. It's a single or repeated act or lack of appropriate action occurring within any relationship where there is an expectation of trust which causes harm or distress to an older person or violates their human and civil rights. For today's discussion, we'll be speaking on financial abuse, which according to home safety experts, includes some of the following: theft, fraud or exploitation, pressure in connection with wills, power of attorney, inheritance or financial transactions, misuse or misappropriation of property, possession or benefits.
Dwayne, just to jump in, also this topic, we felt why Cayman National is so happy to be involved in this topic. We have to remember that there's approximately 10,000 seniors in Cayman. So Cayman has lots of seniors, and we value their contributions from the earlier years, and we are so honored to be selected to participate in this. And not only is this such a valuable topic, we also have to remember that seniors account for about 15% of the population in the United States. And according to some statistics, senior fraud makes up 30% of the fraud that is occurring around the world. So it is a very important topic, one that we take very serious, and we value any contribution that we can make in this regards to enlighten not only seniors but others, because some of the fraud that is experienced by seniors is also experienced by all of us around this table as well.
As I listen to that, that's family member who's defrauded, whether it's by a trusted person whose family or someone who's come into their employ or acquaintance, that would affect us too. We get back to wills, for instance, and maybe I'll ask you, you think it's all above board, and one day, by then it's too late. This is the bona fide will you have now to contest it if that's the scope. But look what else may have transpired after the fact that you discovered that. A little bit kind of late. So what is it? Prevention, better than cure.
Yep. And Sai is going to touch briefly on some of those subject matters of how people can utilize the vulnerability of seniors and get access to their estates and their property and so forth. So he'll talk on that a little more as he gets through.
Now, when we look at the whole notion of, the Cayman context in particular, and I hear statistics, probably 30% of all fraud, we've seen numbers of global financial fraud in billions and billions of dollars. So we're talking about, on a global scale, that's a lot of money, and for elderly that are being impacted in their most important years, as it were. The problem on a fixed income, the problem not able, even if they wanted to, work full time. So this money that they have, this asset that they have, that's gone. Look at the impact that will have for them, for their families, and for society.
The government as a whole, the country as a whole, the island, if you're looking at just Cayman, the island as a whole, would be impacted because some seniors, they get caught up in what's known as investment frauds, and they will invest their entire savings into that scheme, not knowing that it's probably a Ponzi scheme or some sort of other scheme, and the person just takes off with that money, their life savings, and disappears. And where does that person turn now? The only place they can turn to is the government. If they have family that can help them, they'll turn to the family, but usually the family isn't in a position to help the senior, and they reach out themselves to the government for assistance.
But let's ask a question. Someone, whether family or a new acquaintance, whether an employee or a neighbor or what I call it, I say, takes money or an asset from an elderly person. Is that criminal or civil? And I can understand this scenario, but let's say now this was in the possession of the elderly person, that was in the possession of John, was handed over, right? Say, criminal, in order to recover it, do we get the police and legal authorities involved, or is it a civil suit? What would determine what, and which is it?
Well, naturally it becomes a police matter, okay? And based on what transpires during the transaction, the police will take their case to legal to have a ruling to determine, whether it's really a criminal or a civil matter.
Okay.
So it depends on how the circumstances unfolded during the transferring of the asset.
So it could be either then, not automatically that it's a criminal matter. That's what I'm asking, because I was thinking of the scenario where obviously the person comes into the home and somehow does something that seems, that's definitely an illegal act. But June,
it can be civil or criminal depending on what the circumstances. Because remember, just look at the incident that happened maybe 2 years ago with the lady Michelle Bouchard and the elderly man. That was a criminal. That was a criminal matter where she, preyed on the elderly man and everything was out there in the public and got X amount of dollars. So that was a criminal trial. So it just depends, Right.
But I'm thinking too, if and we're assuming sometimes that elderly person has some diminished capacity of sorts. But what if this is a very actively engaged, 8 to 5-year-old who's out there on the Gulf Coast or sailing on a Tuesday afternoon and has a good wealth, meets up, with a similarly, elderly person, smooth talking and convinces him, hey, boy, I have this great investment. It looks legit. All of a sudden, you didn't have the quite. Miss Felicia.
I'm enjoying you describing an 85-year-old so active and the capacity to think out the schemes.
I know a couple of guys in West Bay. Henry Jewel, they found us. They're out there.
But suffice to say, the court will need to make that ruling to determine, how it transpired and what are the circumstances behind that transaction.
And I think what is interesting to note in an instance that it's not always when we're looking at financial abuse in the elderly that it isn't only that person who's incapacitated. It may be that very active, engaged, otherwise retired professional who gets charmed, who gets duped.
Yeah, there's trust. Trust is the underlying.
Trust
is the underlying factor.
Yeah. Remember, Gorbachev was reminded by President Reagan, trust but verify, right? All right, let's pause quickly and take a short break unless Ms. Felicia, you want to jump in? If not, when we come back. 8949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Please join us as we're honored to be able to have this partnership with DCFS, and we're talking about the issue of financial abuse and the protection of our elderly. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Okay, settle down. There's someone I want to thank. This guy knows how to get the most out of every fill-up. This guy had the common sense to drive into Esso so I could get back on the road. $5,000 richer. Thanks to me. Thank you so much, me. Thank you. Yes.
Spend $25 at any Esso service station and get a chance to win in weekly draws for $5,000 cash. Every week for 5 weeks, we'll be choosing a winner. You can also get a chance to win free fuel and prizes at our weekly Spin and Win events. That's $30,000 in cash and prizes to be won. Drive into an Esso station today. You'll thank yourself. The Esso brand is a trademark of Exxon Mobil Corporation and is used under license.
It is your time, Cayman Islands. Take advantage of this final in the series of the opposition's meetings on Cayman's cruise industry and get accurate information and sound analysis and have your say at the East End Civic Center on Monday, October 15. Get the facts and help keep Cayman's cruise industry bright. Is Cayman maintaining its competitive edge? Is docking more efficient and workable than tender service? What drives passenger satisfaction and return visits? Join the opposition for the final in the series of island-wide meetings on Monday, October 15th at the East End Civic Center at 7:30 p.m. It is your time, Cayman Islands. Your time to have your say. The opposition, safeguarding our future.
Chinese food from China Village.
So bok choy from Northside.
But wait, what is this me hearing?
How China Village linked to Northside?
Oh, I know what this is. Wilbur Welcome is in China now.
Oh yeah, and Diana Look Loy, she grows bok choy.
Wilbur Welcome, another YCLA finalist.
Miss Diana Look Loy better bring some bok choy.
You have that right.
But wait, we forgetting something?
This week we'll be featuring the music of Jimmy Cliff.
And the intergenerational panel talk.
The harder they call, the harder they'll fall, one and all.
We'll be having a roundtable discussion with the elderly.
Yeah, we forgot that too.
The word of the week is comparative. COMPARTIVE. It is an adjective which means to be susceptible to comparison.
You can join us this Wednesday from 4 to 5 p.m. right here on Radio Cayman, 89.9 FM, and for Youth Flex, a program for all people by young people. Youth Flex, more than time.
Wonderful world, beautiful people, you and your girl, things could be pretty.
Brandsource Home Gallery has been appointed the exclusive Cayman supplier for Duravit bathroom products. Duravit is the leading international manufacturer of bathroom ceramics, tubs, and showers, recognized around the world for beautiful, functional products. Winner of top industry awards, Duravit collaborates with leading European designers to provide the most elegant and innovative bath products. If you're ready to bring style, comfort, and innovation to your bathroom, visit Brandsource Home Gallery to see the new Duravit showroom and meet the in-house bath designer. Whether you're planning a functional family bathroom or a personal spa retreat, browse the Duravit collection and be inspired. Brandsource Home Gallery, delivering a new standard in custom designed bathrooms. Brandsource Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park.
The NCBO needs your help. Tune in to the annual radio telethon on Saturday, October 20th at 7 p.m. for the best in local entertainment, including C&B, Trinity, Little Magic, Roy Bodden, and High Tide. Call in to pledge any amount or donate online at CaymanGiftCertificates.com to be entered to win over $5,000 worth of prizes. The NCBO's annual radio telethon is broadcasted live from Prospect Playhouse on Radio Cayman and Cayman 27. The NCBO is one of Cayman's Cayman's oldest charities dedicated to the care, education, and well-being of children and families in need of support. Tune in to Radio Cayman and please help us help our children. The annual Radio Telethon, Saturday, October 20th, 7 p.m. to midnight, live from Prospect Playhouse.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. In the studio, we have the good company of Miss Felicia Robinson, together with Cy Elliott and Miss Jewel Hides, and as we talk about, our elderly and financial abuse and protection. And I appreciate what you share, and I trust that those who are listening aren't offended, but with the greatest of respect, would take a look at what we are doing as family members, and are there things that we can do in place that will make it easier for them, make it easier for us, and ensure that we are not inadvertently. If there are a few of us who are doing things and we're like, maybe we are, well, maybe we'll check it and stop it. But who knows, right, Ms. Felicia? We can live in perpetual hope.
Yes.
All right. As we talk to the subject, though, Ms. Jewel, maybe share us as we go through and we're looking at this whole issue of, financial abuse and protection of our elderly. How do we go about protecting ourselves? And share with us some more as we talk about this idea and who's defrauding. We can continue talking about the different types of abuse as was mentioned earlier.
Yeah. So how can a person today the focus is certainly our elderly, our senior citizens, but how can we protect ourselves? One thing I always tell people is to keep your financial information private. Never share your PIN numbers or your passwords with anybody. Never do that. I mean, obviously, husband and wives might share, they may not, or a grandmother may give it to, the niece or the granddaughter or grandson because they don't have any other alternative. But usually I try to encourage never share those kind of details because that's where the problem starts to creep in. That's where it creeps in. You have to be careful and watchful when using an ATM. Most elderly may not actually be able to use the ATM, although there are some very active senior citizens that know how to use the ATM and they know to put in their PIN. There are scrupulous people out there that will actually intentionally stand close by the ATM to see your PIN, see what you're doing. It could be, it could also be a situation where a relative knows where you keep your ATM card and you, because you're a senior, you can't remember the PIN number, you write it down and they know where everything is and they'll go with the ATM card and the PIN number and voila, they have access to your financial, your monetary funds. I always say be very cautious when accepting assistance from strangers. Like you said earlier when we were in discussion, sort of trust but verify. I'm not saying that we're not saying that all strangers are bad, but you have to have that level of caution when someone is just so generous to assist you or help you for no random reason. Delete emails that purport to be your bank-looking security or account information. There's been an increase in phishing, not only in Cayman, but all around the world. And I'm not talking about the fish where you go and catch sprats and snappers and those good fish. There's another type of phishing that's going on out there, email phishing, where they'll make it look or appear that it's the bank or some other institution wanting your information, but you should not click. And I repeat, do not click on those links. There are seniors that are very active on email or have email accounts, and other people also very active with emails, and they make the mistake and click on those links. So we want to take this opportunity to encourage all citizens, seniors, not to click on those links, because that allows the perpetrator to get your sensitive credentials, and it opens the door to your account and those sort of things.
Well, I think the information you're sharing would apply generally to all of us, but in
Yes.
particular, elderly. And as you just shared, I'm thinking, that two scenarios. The elderly person goes into, the ATM machine, whether within a walking aid or wheelchair or the like, and they're there and they're going through. I think as a society, we should be a little bit more respectful and give them a little more space,
Yes.
because some of them, perhaps just to have to remember, some of us do it too, will say out loud what we're doing,
Yes.
and you can hear, or if the way they are, you could see,
Mhm.
and even inadvertently, they will be sharing information. Perhaps they're from a society where it's very trusting,
Yes.
so they're not going to be interested in what you're doing, but you're
Mhm.
watching them.
Yes.
Lots of things that could happen. I wonder what sort of concessions.
Yeah, and one of the other things, Dwayne, that we also encourage individuals to do, dispose of your documents carefully. A lot of people, they receive information, whether it's from the bank, whether it's from your telephone company, wherever it's from, your utility provider. They take that information, they look at it, they pay their bill, they dispose of it by throwing it in the garbage. That information has very valuable details that a fraudster or somebody who is looking to fish and hack into your account, they want that information. As they say, another man's garbage is another man's treasure. That is really the case. So you have to make sure that you appropriately dispose. And I always encourage people to shred information. If you don't have a shredder, just make sure you really tear that stuff up properly, because people go searching for that information. Because we all know that everybody knows that most companies that you call, they ask you a security question. And most people's security questions come from that same information that's put on the utility bill or the telephone bill, and it's easy to figure out in most cases. So we always encourage people to dispose properly of their information.
I think the shredding is a good idea. Many of us may need more fiber in the diet, but don't eat the paper. That's not what we need. Right, so shred it, and those shredders are relatively inexpensive.
Yes.
You can just go into the office, section of the stores there and get a little one that goes over your garbage can, and
Yes.
for little or no, relatively speaking,
Yes.
it'll be a secure way. Because as you're thinking, we pay the bill, maybe we'll keep 1 month's bill, so when the next one comes up, as balance is zero, we just toss it in the garbage. Or we recycle it.
Yes.
The good old scissors to cut it out.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And then have strong passwords. Strong passwords. Anybody who knows me know that I'm a lover of dogs. I'm a fanatic when it comes to animals. I have 3 dogs. So it would be unwise of me to have a password named after my dog. But if I did that, it would be easy for someone to hack in my account too. That's one of the first things they would use, because you know what? They don't just go looking for the utility bill and the telephone bill and the bank statement. They go on to good old social media, Facebook, Instagram, where they can know that Jewel is a lover of dogs. Jewel has a dog named Peaches. She has a dog named Abby. And this is where they get this personal information from, so that they can answer these security questions. So always choose a password that is not associated with you per se, and something that's more difficult for someone who's trying to gain access to your account.
If I can, though, and as we're sharing with you, certainly we're going to pause and take a break. When we come back, since we're talking about, technology, now we have some elderly, and I mean people 80 plus, who are savvy with social media. They have their grandchildren over, their friends, and these are talking about based in Cayman, not just the others who grew up in real advanced societies and the like. And they're here and they're communicating, video, chatting with people, they're emailing, they're doing stuff. But there are some who are not familiar. So for both groups, as banks require more and more information as they deploy greater, perhaps strides in their technology to make it secure. What, if anything, is that doing to displace the elderly in our attempt to help them, and what we can do to help them? So we can talk about maybe the introduction of and deployment of banking technology, and of course continue discussing about other things. If you're listening, trust that you'll join us, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255 as we talk about financial abuse and protection of our elderly. Miss Jewel Hides, Mr. Cy Elliott, and Miss Felicia Robinson are our guests. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Hi, fellow classmates. This is Donna with a roll call for our CIHS Class of 78 40-year reunion. Barracuda, Dolphin, Marlin, Tarpon, Wahoo represent. Save the dates, November 9th through the 11th. We want everybody to come out for great food, great music, great company, and great memories. Link up now on the reunion Facebook page, CIHS Class of 78, or email CIHS78@gmail.com for more details. And see you in November. Cutting class reunion will affect your final grade. I wonder if Mr. Whiteside would give me a merit note for this.
Class of 78, call the Classique to leave your contact information.
I'm your
Sometimes things just don't go as planned. That's why you need Contractors All Risk Insurance from Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Ensure you're covered in the event of property damage and third-party injury or damage claims during your construction projects. And with Fidelity Insurance Brokers, you can be sure you are getting competitive pricing and superior customer service. Call us today for a free quote. Fidelity, we're good for you.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
Excuse me, I noticed you from afar.
Really? Me?
Well, not you. The KFC sandwich you're eating?
Oh, Zinger.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be funny.
No, it's called the Zinger Sandwich. Crunchy, juicy, 100% chicken breast, crisp lettuce, sweet mayo on a seeded bun with a little zing. KFC's chicken is not factory breaded, frozen, and refried like the Burger Boys. Customize your KFC Zinger and dip it in barbecue sauce.
Wow, now I'm starting to notice you too.
KFC, it's finger licking good.
Is this thing working? Give me some sound over here.
Every Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. Radio Cayman Super Jam Show, the #1 drive time entertainment show for your radio, featuring Will Sinatra.
Now, sound is everything.
Enjoy a mix of pop, hip-hop, reggae, and calypso, and an entertainment trivia section. The Super Jam Show is fueled by the proud sponsorship of the Cayman Islands Football Association. CIFA, building a better future for Cayman football.
Thousands of Caymanians work in our cruise tourism industry. It is a myth that Cayman does not need cruise tourism. It is a fact that 4,500 Caymanians work in this industry today as taxi and tour operators, boat captains and crew, restaurateurs, retailers, water sports operators, and ambassadors at our attractions. If our cruise tourism industry is half of what it is today, what are we going to do with our people, the thousands of unemployed Caymanians? Support the peers, support our tourism.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Talk today. Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you so much for joining us, and really grateful to both the Department of Children and Family Services and Cayman National for coming on as we talk about this subject. Cayman is, the banking capital of the world. I mean, soon we'll displace London and New York, right, miss? But that I probably get in trouble. But we take for granted sometimes the ease with which we assume that loved one will always be above board. Unfortunately, it's not always the case. And as we talk about, financial abuse and how to protect our elderly, really grateful to Miss Felicia Robinson, Cy Elliott, and his colleague from Cayman National, Miss Jewel Hides, for joining us. As we were talking about, let's continue sharing. We were asking about technology prior, but we'll continue more. Miss Jewel, Mr. Cy?
Yes. To further the discussion, why are elder people at risk? I will outline some reasons why we feel elderly people are more at risk. Mm-hmm. Physical or mental disabilities. As we age, it is a biological fact that we develop different issues. Our minds are not as sharp as they used to be. So as a consequence of that, we become more vulnerable for fraudsters to take advantage of us. Another reason is isolation and loneliness. Mm-hmm. When people are lonely, elderly is lonely, and there are no kids around, they will gravitate to the stranger or the next available person to assist, for example, with their financial transactions and share important information like their passwords, their PIN number, etc. Family members who are unemployed and or have substance abuse, it put the elder at risk to perpetuate their habits. They will go to great lengths to take advantage of the elderly, knowing that the elderly individual sometimes is not on their A game or they're very sharp. Lack of familiarity with technology. As we discussed in the break, elders sometimes are not tech savvy. There are a number of elders who are not tech savvy and are vulnerable to different things like phishing, lottery scams, clicking on illegal links will make them very vulnerable. Predictability. Think about that for a moment. Their patterns of shopping. So the fraudsters know how they shop, where they shop, what time they shop, where they keep valuables, how they keep them in a certain manner so as to take advantage of the situation. And as Joel mentioned earlier, passwords. They know that we want to ensure that the elder has strong passwords and not easy passwords. Seniors are very trusting individuals too. We need to highlight and appreciate that. And because of their trusting habits, they may ask, for example, a grandchild or a nephew, a niece, let me just pre-sign this check and you go and pay a bill for me. Mm-hmm. And that could evolve into any area. They could write the check payable to cash and take the cash themselves. If they're honest, they may carry out the wish of the elderly persons. So basically those are some of the older people issues that put them more at risk than younger people.
As we have this discussion, perhaps we'll do it maybe if you incline after the break, because it's beyond this. The notion that we need to create a society, we can't legislate for morality and ethics in a sense, but create a society where I believe we would like to have, perhaps some would say that's what we had before, where we were trusting, where we were honest, where we were respectful of our elderly. Not just that we would kick them places, make sure they get there safely and wait for them and bring them back, but we would do for them. Now, are we at risk of our society where that person is vulnerable, perhaps because of age or infirmity, perhaps because of they're new to the place and they don't know where they're going, so instead of driving them from the glass house to the post office by direct route, we go through East End, come around, across the North Sound, and we get them to the post office, but it takes a day trip. Because they just got off the plane, so to speak. At what point and in what manner can we get a society where there's that level of respect for our elderly? And, maybe to some extent, as we deploy policies within government, as we develop regulations within our banking sector to protect them, that can help to inform us. But that'll be after the break, right? the defrauding of elders, you alluded to it. It's probably the person you know, that person that you've met, that over time. Again, let's go back to that very active elder who is out to the socials in the evening, part of the clubs that they're involved in. They're still able to move about. They meet a new member, for instance, who's come to bingo night, or who's the fourth person to pick up the round of dominoes. And over weeks and months, they develop a friendship. So that person, So who's defrauding? Generally, do we have an idea? And even statistically, the study is probably saying, 45% of the elderly being defrauded. No, who is defrauding? I'm sorry. I mean, it's us.
It's an important question. It's not really strangers, I think. I think in most instances, it's actually family members, close associates, people who the elder person develops some level of trust and have high regard for. Caretakers, people who are responsible for doing a lot of the chores and have access to the various information of the elder. This makes them very susceptible to defraud the elder. There are also predatory individuals, including those who profess to love the older person. So they are duped with their love and affection, but beneath that, there is a, if you like, there is a sinister approach to defraud the elder. And this is something that, is difficult sometimes to have the elder understand, because the love and affection is so much that it wins his or her confidence, thus exposing the elder to frauds and deception.
Yeah, for example, we have a lot of elderly that are in retirement homes or assisted living areas, and there are people that would actually come there, visit those elders, show their undying love, so to speak, for those elders. But like I say, they have a sinister motive, and that motive could be to have their estate or their assets signed over to themselves. So, for example, they'll come there and they'll have the elderly person sign a document. Oh, this is just for so-and-so, and by the person not being in their full faculties or capacity and trusting of the individual, they will sign it, not realizing they're signing basically their birthright away and their children's birthright, if they have children. And we've seen in the news people who actually do that. And they prey on the individuals who are in these assisted living arrangements.
Respectful to that elderly person. I mean, whether it's the person who is employed in the elderly for the elderly, or whether it's family member, that elderly person now is almost forced to some extent to give up some level of authority and autonomy and share information. It's convenient, it's so on. So how do we get to a point where there's that balance? I mean, thinking, Ms. Jewel, you mentioned the example earlier. Perhaps the elderly person gives a niece or a child, they'll go to the bank for me. Here's the debit card. Here's the PIN number. Perhaps they're accustomed to it. I need to take a $500 to pay the gardener, or $100 to go groceries or whatever. I mean, this money is there. The person can take out $500 plus a little extra, and no one's the wiser.
Yeah. Well, one of the things me as a person and other individuals strongly encourage as well, and you touched on it briefly on the break as well, have more than one person involved or oversee your financials. Now, yes, things can happen from that perspective as well, but it usually involves collusion. So there's no mitigation for collusion. That can happen. But usually if you have 2 or 3 people that are involved, there's going to be some check and balance going on there. So, that is about really the best that you can really do at this stage, because it has to do with the morality of people. You have to trust somebody. But in this instance, I would say have a couple of people there that you can have some balance, some check and balance.
All right. Well, let's pause and take a break. When we come back, let's continue the discussion and invite you to be a part of it if you choose. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Continuing the Caymanian tradition.
Let Cora keep my ground so clean.
The heart and soul of the Cayman people. Thank you for keeping the culture alive.
Let's read the news every day. From East End to Georgetown, down into West Bay.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
Police are investigating a Saturday morning car fire as a case of arson after a Blue Honda Tornado went up in flames on Watlers Road in Georgetown. Police and emergency crews were called to the scene around 6 o'clock in the morning. Fire crews were able to put out the blaze. Officials believe it was deliberately set and have launched an arson investigation. Police are asking anyone with information to call 911 or the Georgetown Police Station. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. Prime Minister Theresa May has called for cool, calm heads as she insisted a Brexit deal was still achievable despite differences with the European Union. She said it was frustrating the two sides could not agree on how to guarantee no hard border in Northern Ireland. The issue could not derail the chances of striking a deal. The Duchess of Sussex is pregnant and is due to give birth next spring, Kensington Palace has revealed. The announcement came as 37-year-old Meghan and 34-year-old Prince Harry arrived in Sydney today ahead of a 16-day tour of Australia and New Zealand. Their baby will be seventh in line to the throne. And Canadian singer-songwriter Bryan Adams showed his love for his Indian fans on Sunday in a social media post that also brought attention to the country's pollution problem. He shared an image on Instagram of his shadow eerily cast into the dusty and smoky air above a concert crowd. The post said the music veteran had never seen the phenomenon before, describing it as magical. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. And thanks for joining us. And again, thanks for the opportunity to continue our partnership with the Department of Children and Family Services as we'll celebrate and show our value, our respect, and our great appreciation for our elderly in our society. And the director, Miss Felicia Robinson, joins us together with Sai Elliott and Jula Hayes from Cayman National. I still think it's Cayman National, at least for the next 5 years. Just put that in. I want to say, hey, listen, it's Monday. If I can't laugh on a Monday, Miss Felicia, I probably won't be laughing on Tuesday. Friday works, right? There we go. Oh, man. But this whole issue of the elderly and the notion, we need to look at them and find ways that as a society we respect them, value them, make sure they're protected, and they're no longer working, for instance, so they've worked a great life, they've accumulated a massive savings and they want to enjoy, that they're not defrauded, or perhaps they didn't really earn a whole lot, but they've worked, and the little bit they have, boy, they really need that to live on. For us to come along and defraud them maliciously, Miss Felicia, that's not a sign of a good society, is it?
No, and you use the term maliciously, but sometimes people just do the exploitation of their older persons habitually. They just do it as a habit. So they know that that older person is getting their pension on Friday, and they show up on Friday because they're demanding to get a part of that pension.
Wow.
Sometimes it is a question of they know that they've got the assets there, and they invite them to come and live with them. And that is conditional, that they will get money from them to do that. Or sometimes they invite themselves into the home with the older person to live there with a view that that home is going to become theirs because they're going to negotiate that relationship so that it is handed over to them legally much earlier than perhaps that older person might have intended to. But a lot of older people, I think, make the decision in terms of their finances because they fear abandonment. They are concerned that if they do not lock in that relationship, then what is going to happen to them when they become more and more incapacitated or something like that. And sometimes they also do it just out of fear. They're afraid of their daughter, their son, their grandchildren, or their brother or sister, and they feel that as though they've got no other choice but to hand over their financial assets. And it could be the property or it's just the hard cash. And that's a reality that we see very often. And that then leaves the older person in a situation where, well, they've handed over everything already, and then who's going to care for them? Yeah. Because that person then may not feel any obligation to provide continued care for them.
Yeah. Wow. Now, we recognize, I think, as Julie referenced, whether it's in our local courts and media or whether it's, the move of the week or something internationally, that these things happen. We see, perhaps teams, parent and child going around, taking advantage of, their friends and new acquaintances, and we have all kind of nice terms for them. It is a reality. Some of those real life scenarios that we see play out sometimes here, they may give us a perspective. At some point, maybe we can reference them too, so that we become conscious that these are real things that are happening to real people in our society that we're probably not aware of, or that we're not aware that we're aware of. We take it for granted.
I mean, lots of times you have situations where a senior may not be in that position to do any, not transaction, but just carry out their normal day-to-day activities, and they may actually seek to make someone like a power of attorney. When you make someone a power of attorney, they are controlling everything in your life. You've given them authority to do whatever they want. So there are many situations that occur, for example, like that, and then there are instances where individuals got elderly people to sign over their property, and then it causes lots of confusion between family members when the person passed away. Then this sibling thought this was going to be left for them, and likewise, and it causes a big disruption. And these kind of things take a long time to get settled.
Courts and lawyers and stuff.
It takes a long time to get settled, but and sometimes it's difficult to remove somebody that's been made a power of attorney. Okay. So you got scenarios like that happen every day, not only in Cayman but all over the world.
Can I ask then? We were talking about where the person habitually or maliciously, deliberate otherwise, defrauds the other person. Incapacity or some other reason, diminution and otherwise. But what about the elderly person who is now very conscious, cognizant, have all the mental faculties and say, I want to do something now. Could we talk about what that person could do to ensure that there's a smooth operation, just in an unlikely event? Let me give you a scenario. So the elderly person now has invested heavily, worked hard, and say, I'm going to travel, but I always want to go zip lining through the Amazon. I don't know. Maybe they're going to scale Mount Everest or what have you. But yeah, increased risk and so on. But just in case something happens, I'm going to live life to the fullest and yada yada. But if something happens, this is what happens. Are there things that an elderly person can do now? Whether they choose that lifestyle or they decide, I get up every morning, I'm going to go in my garden and I'm going to go volunteer in the evening at the church and have an active lifestyle. But I want to put things in place just in case. Because I don't know about you, but I think life can be unpredictable. So what can that elderly person know? And if it matters whether they have children or no children or the like, is there something or are there things that a person can do to make it better for them, protect themselves, make it better for that estate, for that family?
Yes, Dwayne. As I hear you mention, a thought that comes to mind is that of proper financial planning.
Mm-hmm.
I think we could, in that realm, we could stipulate a number of scenarios that we would want if X should happen to us, if Y, if Z.
Mm-hmm.
So you lay it out, and you get, for example, an executor in the event of your incapacitation.
So create a will? Or do you need to create a will in order to get the executor?
Well, you create the will, and assign the executor.
So we got to probate. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
To carry out your wishes in the event that you're incapacitated. That's about what I can think of, Outside of what Joel mentioned about having two persons, sign on your account and the other topics that we discuss.
Right.
I believe the financial planning, have it properly laid out, with someone to direct and control it in the event, is probably your best option.
Can I ask a couple things? And I certainly don't want to speak from the perspective about listening or giving legal advice or even financial advice. So speak to the appropriate people to get it. So to that elderly person now who is, decided to retire and going to spend days very structured baking or gardening or sailing or whichever, or adjusting, would be advisable then to put things in order now, just in the event. I know that we passed recent legislation or proposed to consultation in the event that something happened to us in relation to our organs and how we would like our wishes to be respected. So there is that. But then financially, the elderly person has financial assets, so savings accounts, investment portfolio with their whatever it is in the bank. Do they add somebody, or they just set out their wishes so that, through their will there's the executor and this is the disbursement? Some it seems complicated to the person who has millions. They may say, yeah, it's worth it. But the person who says, I only got a couple of dollars, a few months' time, if I don't manage my affairs, I'll be broke.
Right.
Does it matter if you got a 2 cents or you got, 2 cents plus a little bit extra?
Well, somebody's 2 cents could be like $2 million to them.
Yes.
So,
it is, right?
It's all in perspective, and it just depends on the individual and their situation. But I would agree with Sai that proper planning and proper outlining of your wishes should be done prior to, your demise or your incapacitation. I mean, that just makes good sense to have. I mean, some millionaires will probably have paid financial planners that can oversee and do what they want. Some people will set up trusts so that all of their estate goes into a trust, and then they will outline who the beneficiaries are and how they want that distributed. It just depends on the individual and the situation. But one thing I would say to anyone is, if you have any financial resources, you have to definitely keep a close eye and keep a track of that, because if you all of a sudden were getting bank statements, for example, and those statements stop, you need to follow up. You need to follow up with your bank or your financial institution, whether it's a stockbroker account you have or whether it's just a regular savings account, because bank statements don't just stop. Chances are somebody probably intercepted your information and sent in a request looking like it's Dwayne Sterling and saying, don't send my financial information to this address no more, send it to another address. And by the time you realize what's going on, your money could be depleted. So whether you decide to outline a plan for your financial resources, which we strongly encourage, I would still say, whether you have $1,000 or whether you have $2 million, you have to ensure that any financial documents you're supposed to be receiving, that you continue receiving them unless you specifically request for them to be sent somewhere else. Because these are some of the ways that the fraudsters actually try to get your funds.
The things that sometimes we don't always so appreciate it. We got one final short break to take. When we come back, we'll conclude our discussion. And I thank you very much for sharing. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
You remember the sale at Vamp Motors?
Yeah, the Your Sale, Your Choice, the one where you can get cash back or can put the savings to extend the warranty or upgrade features?
Yes, it's still going on, but now you can get $8,000 off a new Ford Ranger truck. $8,000, you know?
You for real?
Come see for yourself while they still have so much to choose from now through October. Save big during Your Sale, Your Choice at Vamp Motors. With almost every vehicle on sale, you decide whether to get your dream ride at its lowest price. Take cash back, add years to the warranty or service plan. Choose an add-on or mix your options. Your sale, your choice, because you know what you need, and Vamp Motors will help you drive it home. Vamp Motors on Walkers Road.
Honey, our fridge has stopped working again. Everything in the freezer is melting. We need to get this repaired right away. I'm calling Brand Source Service.
When you need the very best appliance service, call Brand Source Service at 623-5000. Offering service and installation of all brands and models of appliances. Brand Source Service is Cayman's source for appliance parts and repairs, with qualified and experienced technicians and the island's largest stock of appliance parts. Brand Source Service will have your repair completed in a flash. So, whatever the problem is, call the experts at 623-5000. Brand Source Service, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Telephone 623-5000.
Radio Cayman, your number one community station, would like to remind you that we are in the hurricane season, and in order to survive a hurricane, you need to be prepared. If officials' sources say a hurricane is imminent, please board up or shutter up windows in your home or place of business. Remember to use good lumber, as makeshift boarding may actually cause more damage. Also put strong bracing on outside doors so that they are not blown off or blown in.
This hurricane advice was brought to you by Radio Cayman, your caring community radio station.
Cayman's cruise industry must be preserved and developed. It is a myth that the cruise lines will continue to call on Cayman at the rate they do now without the piers. It is a fact that the mega-class ships will not be tendered. Arrivals will decline by half over time as the older ships are decommissioned. This will hurt our economy and thousands of Caymanians who work in this industry. If we want to continue providing opportunities for Caymanians, we need the piers. Support the piers. Support our tourism.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks for joining us. And thanks again to Ms. Felicia Robinson, Cy Elliott, and Jewel Hides over at CNB for joining us as we talk about, the financial abuse and the protection of our elderly. And October is a good month. I mean, a lot of good people are born in October. October is the month where we start to look forward to Christmas. But equally, every year, UCFS has dedicated a month to respect and value our elderly. And hopeful as a society, we start to appreciate that. God's willing, we'll all here live to, be 100 plus and actively sailing, right, Miss Felicia? Yeah. Playing dominoes? Oh, yes. But with that, as we look at our discussion and we've shared some of the tips, and we always are cognizant of who is probably, defrauding the elderly. And it's not a stranger, at least maybe strange, but not a stranger. And the reasons it's happening. Sai, as we continue the discussion, maybe you'll continue to share with us.
Okay. To further add to the discussion, Dwayne, if you become a victim of elderly abuse, there are some factors or some things I think that you should do immediately. One is call the police. The police most time will send letters of request to the bank requesting information to progress the investigation. Also, it's very important that you notify your bank as soon as possible. The bank has systems in place, for example, to prevent any further withdrawal of your cash or use of your ATM card, as an example. So it's very, very important that you notify your bank immediately
to
prevent further loss.
If I may respectfully, thank you for allowing me to interject. So the elderly person has realized, wow, I usually get a statement every month, for argument's sake. For whatever reason, they don't get them yearly or quarterly, but every month. And it's not coming. Or, statement has come, but I've seen, wait a minute, this withdrawal, this payment, but the person doesn't drive for whatever reason, calls the bank. No. I've heard from some people, generally, at different banks, but when I call, yes, someone answers, but they can't take instructions over the phone. I have to come in person. The person can't get there. Possible impediments. How can that elderly person notify? How should they go about it? What can we do if that's an instance?
Well, once the client has made a report to the bank, we ask the client a number of security questions, and we're comfortable that the client is who he purports him or herself to be. There are a number of things that the bank can do to prevent further loss on the customer's account. For example, you could disable the ATM card. You could place a note on the account. Exercise caution. So there are systems in place to mitigate further loss on the part of the customer once we can identify that the customer is who he purports himself or herself to be.
And Dwayne, most circumstances are different. Like we would like to get, something in black and white, but some of the times, depending on the situation, once we are alerted to the circumstance and we feel comfortable, like I say, through asking the security questions, and we did our own internal checks, then we would take appropriate action to protect the customer's account until we can get further details from the customer, which is usually followed up by an email or black and white. Because we understand, like you say, some people don't have rides, some people can't come in. So,
So the main thing is that elderly person, if they're conscious of it, make that initial contact with the bank, even if it's a phone call. Hey, something looks kind of off. Where can I go from here? Provided the person can do that.
Definitely call.
And finally, one of the things that the bank also can do is we can restrict the account. Until, further investigation is carried out to determine exactly what has occurred.
So, as we look at this whole issue of financial abuse, and I reflect on what you shared earlier, Ms. Jewell, 30% of all abuses on the elderly globally. I wonder in the Cayman context, are we as a society conscious of, we collect statistics on a number of things. Are we aware of how maybe frequent, one is perhaps one too many, but, has it been given the level of sort of, respect and attention that it deserves? Just questions out loud, and now, in addition to asking that, what about us who are the family members, the caregivers, the people close to the elderly? Are there any things, I don't want to use the word audits, but that's what I'm thinking, are there any things that we can do now to sort of re-examine our own sort of operations to make sure that, hey, we're not habitually, unconsciously, doing something? The malicious act is a little bit different, but, just to make sure that we're, as best as we can, doing the right thing, because that's what we set out to do. Are there things we can do? You mentioned earlier the idea of have more than one signature on the account, but that's possible. But what are there things that we can do to put in place just to make sure that we're not, inadvertently, unconsciously, doing something that we shouldn't?
It depends on the senior involved. Like you say, some seniors are more active than others, but maybe if there are opportunities to help educate them as well as ourselves, because if my recollection is correct, I believe that there have been some community service programs that have been going on in regards to seniors. Like, I don't know if it was involving the Department of Children and Family Services, but I know some churches have held events for seniors, and part of that they were educating the seniors on, different issues, including technology and fraud and stuff like that. So maybe the family members could get those seniors who are actively involved and open their eyes in regards to those issues so they could be more mindful. And as a family member, we also go to ensure that we don't fall, into that trap of, getting into that sort of abuse with our loved ones. That's another option. I don't know if you can provide some more.
Sai spoke to if the abuse has occurred and it relates to more or less fraud and exploitation around banking accounts, but it happens in other contexts, which may not necessarily be related to a bank. And I think as family members, we need to be aware that if someone is being financially exploited, an older person is going to have a trickle-down impact upon their ability to care for themselves in terms of their ability to, their meals, ability to eat, pay the other utilities and so on. It does have a trickle-down effect on their quality of life. And so it's important for family members to recognize that if they're the perpetuators themselves, that this is what the implications are for the older persons. But anybody in the community, if you think that an older person is also being subjected to some level of financial exploitation, then we have an older persons unit within DCFS. Please call so that we can look into it and provide some support as needed.
If I can ask it, it's where there are more family members, whether children, grandchildren, and the like. Fair enough, but as we share sometimes too, it's that person is almost alone. In the instance, though, and just thinking this out loud, we have very active, engaged elderly people who are seemingly, very loving and kind and generous. So they take out, whether it's the, children and grandchildren, neighborhood children. They go into their churches, and they're very charitable, very giving, and seemingly they're okay with it. They're going to take them out to ice cream, every Friday night or whatever it is, at the youth group, and they're spending. Any concerns there that one now is, at least projecting that they're okay. Miss Felicia, you gather where I'm going, right? But I don't know. It's interesting, right?
Yeah, because you get old, it doesn't mean that you become somebody other than who you were before. Your personality travels with you across your life stages. And if you were someone when you were younger, perhaps, who loved to be able to highlight your assets and use that for whatever bargaining power, it's likely you're going to do that as you get older too, to be able to barter for whatever you need from other persons within your community that you come across. And I think what we would want to encourage older persons to do is to act with wisdom, understanding their increased vulnerability as they get older, and take the active role also in protecting themselves.
Okay. It is, I guess, comes back to what I was thinking out loud earlier when I say that as a society we ensure that either we develop and inculcate in our society that ethos that shows incredible respect for our elderly, and then hopefully as we age, looking at our society today and think of the advances that we had relative to access to education, the more of us, for whom the policies that are going to be affecting us as we get older, we probably were instrumental in formulating those policies, whether they're banking regulations, whether they're laws, and so on. So as we manage that, we start to think, well, what would it be like, in 30 years, and 40 years, or even in, 5 years, so that as we get to that point, how would we like? Just a thought. The greater good.
More public awareness, education, financial planning seems to be the way to go.
All right.
To mitigate, a lot of these instances where the elderly is defrauded or abused.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. As we close, perhaps first, Ms. Jewel, any thoughts, and then Sayan, of course. Ms. Felicia, if you would share with us. Ms. Jewel?
Yeah, no, just want to say that thanks for inviting us, Dwayne. It's been a pleasure. Like Sai said earlier, we've been participating in this for the past few years, and it's always a pleasure to work with the Department of Children and Family Services, and we look forward to continued fruitful relationship.
All right, thank you. Sai?
Yes, I too would like to say, thanks for inviting us. I hope we have made some contribution to the program. More public awareness, is the way to go, along with education, as mentioned, and more family, more financial planning. Mm-hmm. When those three areas are addressed sufficiently, I believe it will certainly help our elderly people, as they live out their final years.
Right.
And thank you, Dwayne.
My pleasure. Ms. Felicia.
So, on behalf of the Ministry of Community Affairs and the Department of Children and Family Services, I'd like to say thank you to our colleagues at Cayman National Bank. They are one of our preferred, but also one of our continual sponsors for the month of October, not just for activities here in Grand Cayman, but also in Cayman Brac. They're always responsive when we make a request to have sponsorship for the month. So thank you very much for joining us and taking aboard this real important topic. And Dwayne, as usual, thank you so much for hosting us. And to our public, again, our call is to say, step up, take responsibility, care for the older persons in our society. They're valuable, and the way how we treat them is a reflection of how we as a society are.
Amen. And thank you all very much. And to our listeners, we're going to pause and take a short break. When we come back, there'll be some open lines. So, hey, you want to hear what? Well, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Welcome to our Esso service station. How can I help you today, ma'am?
$25 in fuel, please.
Sure. I bet I can make you smile, too.
Bet you can't.
Would $5,000 cash make you smile?
Of course. Who wouldn't? But how?
Spend $25 or more in fuel at any of our Esso service stations, and you could be the winner of $5,000 cash. Every week for 5 weeks, one lucky winner will win $5,000 cash. Made you smile, didn't I?
I'm smiling.
Drive into an Esso station today. The Esso brand is a trademark of ExxonMobil Corporation and is used under license.
Not all insurance is created equal, but who has the time to shop around? Take the guesswork out of your insurance coverage with Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Let us match you with the best coverage to suit your needs at a price to suit your wallet. Plus, get superior customer service from dedicated claims professionals to ensure speedy claims processing. Get your insurance through Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Call us today at 949-7822 for a free quote. Fidelity, we're good for you.
A trip to New York City is the experience of a lifetime. Starting this December, Cayman Airways will be offering daily non-stop flights from Grand Cayman to New York City. That's right, Cayman Airways is going daily to New York City starting this December. Stroll through Central Park or take in the bright lights of Times Square, enjoy a Broadway show or visit museums, the Empire State Building, and so much more. Whether you're visiting for business or pleasure, you'll fall in love with New York City. And daily non-stop flights from Grand Cayman aboard Cayman Airways starting this December. For details and to book, call Cayman Airways reservations at 949-2311. Contact a travel agent or visit CaymanAirways.com. CUC advises motorists that in an effort to alert approaching drivers of speed restrictions when entering an area of road where CUC vehicles and personnel are present, the company will be deploying rumble strips. These rumble strips are a series of raised transverse rubber strips laid across the road which changes the noise a vehicle's tires make on the surface and so warning drivers of speed restrictions. On approaching CUC's work zones, motorists will observe bright orange road signs signifying rumble strips ahead. Before entering these work zones, motorists will encounter the rumble strips that are encouraged to drive with extreme caution at slow speeds until they are well clear of the work zones. These rumble strips are essential to safeguarding against potential danger to CUC personnel. If you have any questions regarding the use of rumble strips, please contact our customer service team at 949-5200 or via email at service@cuc.ky. 89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecast, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman 89.9 FM.
The Wesleyan Churches of the Cayman Island District is pleased to present their 6th Annual Youth Convention, Navigate, from October 23rd through 28th.
This year's theme is focused on navigating your spiritual journey in a postmodern world, featuring pastors Alton Ebanks, John Gray High School counselor Christopher Murray, and visiting pastor Ronald Benjamin.
The rise of technology, identity politics, and societal changes can create roadblocks in a young person's life.
Remember, learn the skills to take charge of your spiritual journey.
We need to get back to the basics of life.
The 6th Annual Youth Convention by the Wesleyan Churches of the Cayman Islands takes place in Northside at the Cradock Ebanks Civic Center, October 23rd through the 28th. Bus services will be available nightly from Georgetown to Northside. For more information, contact Cassandra at 925-1930 or Pastor King on 916-5372. That's 925-1930 or 916-5372.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. It is open line and it's a Monday. Why don't we take your calls and have you share your thoughts with us as you so choose. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Invite you to share your thoughts with us as you want. Tomorrow, just a quick heads up, we're going to have a discussion with